Hi guys, my name is Trinity, and if you have found me, you must be here to talk about books, because that's why I'm here, to talk about books. And in today's video, I am going to be showing you my May TBR. Now, if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know I am changing up my TBR for this month because I was running into the problem of not tackling the books that I really wanted to read. And I had it set up where I was reading the bottom rated books in my TBR and the top rated books in my TBR, and then giving my final thoughts on all of that. So I decided this month is kind of gonna be a free-for-all. So what I have done is I have collected the books that have been waiting on my shelves for some time that I haven't had the chance to get to. And I don't plan to read everything on this TBR, and there might be some things where I venture off and read those because they've been either waiting in my audio library or holds that I have for Libby. But I will talk about those in my weekly wrap-ups, so you guys won't be missing out on anything. And I will still be doing my vlogs along with my wrap-up. But let's go ahead and get into May's TBR. Of course, the first book that I have to talk about is the next book in the Cosmere Conquest. We will be reading The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. I have not read these yet. I had read Mistborn previous to the challenge, but I haven't read the second era Mistborn yet. And I'm kind of excited to get into this. I know a lot of people don't like the continuation, but I don't know. I'm kind of digging that this might be a little bit more noir. And I haven't read a Flintlock fantasy yet, and I've heard that this has Flintlock fantasy elements in it. So very, very excited about this. The next book that I want to talk about is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. So this is about two girls in dual timelines whose stories start to intertwine. One is a queen and one is a rogue character. And I picked this up based on Brittany's recommendation. She absolutely loves this series. I don't want to know too much more about it going into it because I really want to find out for myself what's going on. And it says two young women centuries apart hold the power to either save their world or doom it. So I know that this has a little bit of a prophecy attached to it, and it's young adult, but I am one of those people who wants to read a book based on the cover, and the covers of these books are so beautiful, but very excited to get to this one. The next one is one that keeps coming up as a recommendation for me because I loved The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, and that would be Just One Damn Thing After Another by Jodi Taylor. And this is about scientists who have discovered the secret of time travel, but don't call them that because they will just get mad. And they are studying the universe from afar in a different time period. And that's basically what the synopsis says, so I don't know much more about it, but just the fact that it's called Just One Damn Thing After Another really, really intrigues me. I also have the prequel as an audio on Audible because it was free to download, so I'll probably check that out before getting into this. But it sounds like it's going to be super cheeky and super fun. Now for one that all of my friends on Twitter are talking about or have been talking about for a long time. Most of them are reading this person's other series. And recently, Elliot Brooks has picked up this book and talked about it on her channel, so I will also link her. I believe she did a full review, and I will link that down below. But that would be R.J. Barker's Age of Assassins. Now, this is about an assassin trying to stop an assassination attempt. So assassin versus assassin. And what she had said is, if you read the synopsis of this, it sounds like Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, but that's not what it is. And so if you have read Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, you might have the gist of this down, but apparently it's a little grittier, a little darker, and I'm excited to get into this one too. All right, A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. I love Sherlock Holmes. This is female Sherlock Holmes. Do we really need to say anything else other than, yes, I am excited to read it. Okay, so recently I read Eden by Tim Leben, and when I started talking about that and how much I really enjoyed it, someone asked me if I had read Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, and I was like, no. And they were like, oh my gosh, if you liked Eden, you should really try Annihilation. So I picked it up. It's super short. And I have to say, I've read the first couple pages of this and I like it so far. The writing is really interesting. And I'm hoping, I've heard that this one is a little weird. Like it gets weirder than what Eden did, but very, very excited to read it. And let's go ahead and talk about the continuations that I'm hoping I get a chance to continue, meaning hoping I have read them by the end of April. Well, I did finish Golden Sun. So, Morning Star by Pierce Brown. I really need to know how that series ends because, man, are we on a dang cliffhanger. Now, I have not yet read Ruin by John Gwynne, but I'm hoping I get to it and then I can read Wrath, the final book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. This one I'm putting on here because I need to clear out some of my Pop Sugar challenge because I haven't really been focusing on the books that are on that challenge this month. And so Roses and Rot, this is a book about two sisters who attend an elite art school or art retreat. And basically these two sisters are running from their past and their mother. And I'm hoping, I looked at the Goodreads reviews whenever I picked this up and they were pretty good. So I'm hoping that this will fit the artist slot in my Pop Sugar challenge, book about an artist. But it sounds like it's going to be interesting and I'm very excited for it. And if you don't know, Kat Howard also wrote An Unkindness of Magicians, which has also been very well received. Okay, next would be another Pop Sugar book, and that would be A Place You'd Like to Visit in 2021, you know, should COVID bans lift and all of that. But that would be Cersei by Madeline Miller. I have a feeling you guys all know what this is about, but this is centered in Greek mythology. I've heard nothing but good things about Madeline Miller, and I do have Song of Achilles on my TBR, well, on my Pop Sugar challenge as well, so I am hoping to get to both of these very soon. I'm hoping that my hold will finally release for this one because I had to put that sucker in 12 weeks out. So crossing our fingers that I get this month. And if you need clarification on that, I was talking about the audiobook because when books are written in like a flowery, whimsical way, I do like to listen to them. Next would be Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. If you guys have been watching, you know I read The Bone Maker and I thought it was fan-freaking-tastic. And I've actually heard Elliot talk about these books. She wasn't a huge fan of the third book in the series, but nothing but praise for the first two, and she didn't like the way it ended. So that is fine with me. I'm not too worried about that. But these are very atmospheric from what I understand. Fantasy set in a forest where spirits have taken over the forest and only the queen can control them and stop these spirits from attacking people. And there's a training school where they are training for the next queen to take over who can control these spirits. And that's about all I know. It's about all I want to know. But I'm very, very excited to get into this one. The First Sister by Lyndon A. Lewis. Now, I have had this since December. My mom bought it for me for Christmas. You guys have probably seen it on my channel a couple of times because I've been very, very excited to read it. And this is about a woman who is essentially a concubine and is trying to break free of her chains. It is sci-fi, so like a think space opera type sci-fi. I've heard that the pacing in this is fantastic. You can't hardly put the book down. And the next book is coming out very soon. So I really want to make sure that I have this read by the time the next book comes out. And you guys all know about this book. I'm sure you do. I need to continue on with the Grishaverse. Siege and Storm would be the next book that I need to read. I was hoping to finish the trilogy before the Netflix show came out. Kind of upset that this is a permanent thing here. But as you guys know, I'm also really horrible about buying second books in a series, and that was why it took me so long to get to this one. Because I just got it for my birthday. But I'm very excited to continue with the Grishaverse. And to meet Nikolai. Nikolai is one of the best characters from what I understand, and we don't meet him in the first book. The Gutter Prayer by Gareth Hanrahan. I have heard nothing but good things about this series. It is the Black Iron Legacy. Captivating. I don't understand why people can't give things normal names. Guerdon is a city that's seized with history, horror, and hidden secrets. This is dark, so probably grimdark, compelling, rich with dark and original wonders. Ha! That is a blurb by my favorite author, Mr. Anthony Ryan. So I do really, really love dark fantasy, and I'm hoping that this is going to like scratch that itch for me, because let's be real, your girl has walked a little bit away from some dark fantasy lately. Now you guys all probably saw this coming, but Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I read From Blood and Ash. Loved it. So fun. Can't wait to read this one. The third book is out. If you're in the US, apparently the UK is having a hard time getting a hold of it. But I haven't bought the third book yet because I could only find the hardback copy. And since I have the rest of these in this wonderful, beautiful, floppy paperback, I want to own the whole series in the beautiful, beautiful floppy paperback. So, very excited to read this. If you don't know what From Blood and Ash is, it is a fantasy romance that centers around Poppy and Hawk. Poppy is a maiden who is going to be sacrificed for the good of her kingdom, and she decides she don't want to do that. But Hawk is her guard. And there are very fun things that happen with both of them, and the story is actually pretty great. Very, very entertaining, and it's a book that I would recommend to anybody who likes Sarah J. Maas. My experience with Sarah J. Maas wasn't great, but what can you do? What can you do? You love some, or you win some and you lose some, right? So I like this one. In the Quick by Kate Hope Day. Now, I didn't talk about this whenever I picked it up, but I heard that this is very similar to The Space Between Worlds, and you guys know how much I liked The Space Between Worlds. And so that is what prompted me to buy this novel. Feminist and thrilling, this novel centers around a precocious, brilliant character named June. I happily followed June into deep space, but I would have followed her anywhere. I'm very, very excited to get into this because, like I said, this has been compared to The Space Between Worlds, and I adore that book. Check out my favorite books of all time. It's in there. Okay, and there are 2 audiobooks that I want to get to as well. The Last Watch by J.S. Dews. I dropped the ball in having the arc of this book and not actually reading it because we all know I got slammed with arc requests. And this one I just kept putting off and putting off, not because I didn't want to read it, but because it was so long and there were a couple that I had to give priority to due to blog responsibilities, obligations. So I did pick up the audio for The Last Watch. So super thrilled to get into it. Let me just say, I saw J.S. Dews in an N7 mask and I about was like, my people, I found my people right there. And then the other is another chunker fantasy novel that I need to get to, and that would be Velocity Weapon by Megan O'Keefe. Now, I don't know anything about this book, except every time one of my blogger friends starts talking about these books, they just can't stop gushing. And I'm like, okay, you guys have made me need to read this book because you're plastering it all over my Twitter and every review is just a gush fest. So Velocity Weapon, all 3 of the books have now been released, I do believe, of this trilogy, and they are all chonkers. So I'm very excited to get into that as well. But those are the 2 audio that I will be tackling, and the rest of my TBR you just saw. I do have some arcs that I still need to read, but we will discuss those in my vlogs. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!